What would I call this series? Okay, so best vintage lenses for video. If you've been following my channel for any length of time, you know I've been on a mad search to find a much better camera. I was shooting on an old Nikon D3300, absolutely miserable. Then I bought a GH4, which I absolutely love, and I started using old Canon FD lenses. So which lenses did I buy? Why did I buy them? That's what this series is going to be about. The lens I'm using right now is a Canon FD 24mm lens. It's what's called a wide angle lens. For those of you who don't know, essentially have three general sorts of lenses. You have wide angle lenses. In other words, you're not just seeing my head talking right now, you're seeing a little bit of the background, some of the trucks, some of the trees. The next sort of lens is a 50mm lens. All right, now I'm still shooting on the 24, but I'm going to show this, then we'll go give demonstrations of each lens in its native environment. This is good for portrait work. This is good for product reviews. This is good for some really up close and intimate sorts of shots where I really want to zero you in on something specific, right? Because I have to back the camera way up. The problem with it is, I actually prefer the way this lens looks to this one. The problem is, the microphone's so far away, you wouldn't be able to hear me. And to me, the audio is more important than what? The video. Okay, the next lens is a 35mm Canon FL lens. As you can see, it's a much older school sort of lens. It's a previous generation to the FD. This looks like it was 1960s technology. This looks more like 1970s. 35mm is classified as a wide angle lens, but it's really sort of halfway between wide angle and normal. Normal lenses, you have wide angle lenses, then normal lenses with like the 50mm here, arguably the 35, this is close to what your eye normally sees, the human eye. Wide angle, normal. The next type is telephoto. Got one of these old beer can type lenses, push-pull, the types they call it. This is a 70 to 210mm Canon FD lens. I like this lens. It also has a macro function, so I can get very, very close to some very small things. I'll show a cockroach I caught in my house on one of these, on this thing, early on. Had a lot of fun with this one. This is the one that I use. I want to, if you remember the barred shot in the previous video. Shot totally on this lens. So why these vintage lenses? I mean, what's the point, you know? It's old, right? How good can it be? For one thing, you're watching my videos, right? So there must be something you like, or else you wouldn't be coming back. The old lenses work. For a long time, people didn't use them because they weren't all that compatible with the newer technology, but then companies started producing adapters. Companies like Photo Diox and RJ Camera and various Photocy or whatever, these making adapters to adapt these old lenses to modern cameras. There's a very good reason to use vintage lenses. Cost, money. They're dirt cheap compared to new lenses. I can't afford new lenses. These four lenses, this lens right here, this FD, you know how much I bought this lens for? $12. You know how much this lens would cost me brand new? I'd probably have to spend something like what, it's not a fast lens, it's only f4, but I don't need it to be that fast because I'm shooting in broad daylight with this lens. I don't, you know, and I'm shooting mostly B-roll. There's some problems with it. Yeah, it won't stay put. It'll slip down like that and things like that. But like all technology, it has limitations. Okay, this 35mm lens. I'll put the cost of how much I paid for these down in the description. I paid, well, I think I paid $35 for this one. And go look up the price of a Canon FD 35mm lens today. Whatever the EOS, whatever their main lenses are today. $35, you kidding me? Now this is an FL mount. It fits on one of my adapters, but it doesn't fit on my other adapters. But I kind of like the FL mounts, but you can get some good pricing on them, but you may not be able to use all adapters with them. The 50mm lens, I paid, I don't know, I can't remember what I paid, maybe about $50 for it. You know, go find a 50mm lens, Canon, brand new Canon 50mm today, even the nifty 50. Just go look and see how much it costs. Still, you say, oh, $120 not bad. No, it isn't. But I got this for like less than 50. It's the same stinking lens that Canon makes today. Now, the lens that's on here, 24mm lens, I paid $100 for that one. That one's the most expensive one in the bunch. You know, I need wide angle, and one of the downsides of Micro Four Thirds is they are not wide angle lenses. They're not wide. They're not good at. They're not. It's harder to get wide angle shots with them. But it was $100. So, and at that generation, the wide angle lenses weren't anywhere near as good as the normal lenses, right? The normal lenses were really the best lenses of that era. But again, if you were to take a brand new 24mm lens, you're gonna pay $600, $700, $800 for it brand new. Everything's manual, but that's just a matter of learning the craft. But the point is, I bought these lenses for what, it was like $234 and some odd cents, shipping included, you know, and you got full artistic expression. And another reason I wanted to go with all Canon, because I wanted to have all consistent sort of colors, right? Canon color science. If you think about cameras long, you hear people talk about color science. It's just that company's way they render colors and stuff. And so Canon has a philosophy and a process, the way they build their lenses, the way they think about color, the way they sort of see the world. And you know, the last thing I wanted was to have a 24mm Canon and then a 50mm Nikon and then 85mm Minolta, and you have one looks orange, the other one looks magenta, and the other one looks stinking blue. Or give me one lens manufacturer and I just buy that lens. So with that, why don't we get some video on each lens.